Hey Lucy, I think it looks good. Um, just a few comments, and I wanted to go over them by video, so maybe they make a little bit more sense. Um, you can actually excavate the topos here, so you can actually see the my composition. So you can actually see the base. So to do that, let me come over here, and I'll go to wireframe. And what I've got is I just put a floor at the base of those, there's a floor down here, right? And so you can see it. And you can use that floor. I just put in a 9-inch concrete floor at the base, and you can excavate. So I'm going to unexcavate it right now. So if I pick the topo solid, there's an excavate, and I'm going to remove excavation, and I'm going to remove the excavation from this floor. So if I do that, you'll see if I hit escape, the topos now fill up that whole thing and you can't see it. But if you pick the topos and excavate it using the floor, it will push the topos down and subtract that out, so you will be able to see that. So you could do that. I would make this a little larger and kind of center it in this space. It seems really low. And this should say shadows. I don't know. I would make the shadows a little lighter on this one. So to do that, you would go to your view. So I'll double click in this view. And then down here, you can go to graphic display options. And under lighting, there's shadows. And I think they typically set them at like around 50 or something like that. And so they're pretty dark, but I tend to like mine down around 30. So you can see a little bit more detail in the line work and stuff like that. Let's see. But that's it for this one. I mean, the only other thing is you could pull this up out so it's not like on top of the stairs. Um, so that would be a little comment there. I think this sheet looks good. I would just say if this is Inkscape, I would use it maybe a 2-point perspective. It seems a little wonky, the vertical lines. You might want to try vertical 2-point perspective and see if that works. Um, if it's Revit render, then you can't do that. Um, if this is actually a rendering um, that you did, you can actually overlay a section on top of it, which is kind of interesting. So let me show you how I would do that. Okay, so this is a little weird, but I'll talk about it anyway. Basically what I did is I cut a section through the building. So this is the section, right? So this is, we go to plan A1. I have a section cutting right through the building, and if I go to that section, it's this one. And then what I did is I made a 3D view, so I duplicated this 3D view here. So I went to this 3D view and duplicated it and made one called section render and did the orient to view, right? So I went over here to orient to view sections and picked that section render base that I made from the section, which would be exactly the same as this. And then I rendered this one. So I just went to the rendering dialog box and rendered it. You may have done it in Inkscape or something, but when it comes out, right, if I go to the composition sheet, it kind of looks like this, right, because you don't have a lot of definition. But what you can actually do is you can go to that section render base. So I'm back in that original like orthogonal section. There's no render options down here. And you can actually use it to create a section cut that you can overlay on top of that rendering. So in the composition, this could be, this is a rendering I did in Revit, but it could be an image that you've placed here. It doesn't matter, if you brought it in from Inkscape or however you did it. But if you go back to that section base, I can come into my visibility graphics and I'll just select all, and I'll make the cut pattern like a solid, and I'll make it white, right? So I'll just do white. So it's all solid white. It's not going to really look a lot different. And then what I'm going to do is make a very thin slice of this. So I'm not getting a whole bunch of background stuff in there. I'm just going to come in and over here, I'm going to make sure that I have no scope box set. So just say none. And then the far clip offset, I'm just going to set it to 1 inch. So it's going to make a 1 inch slice of this building, right? So there's the building as the 1 inch slice. And I'm just going to pick the roof and VH it, right? Um, if you want to, you can come in and like join things. So you could, join these guys and, make it a little cleaner if you want to do that. Um, so that's kind of up to you. It'll take a little time, but it's not a tremendous amount of time. But once you have this guy, so this is just this section, I can go back to the composition sheet and I can actually drag that section onto this sheet and it will overlay it. So I can come in and just move it, into place. You may have to adjust the image or the scale, right? So now I've got that guy sitting on top of there and I have a rendering, and I can obviously come into my viewport and say no title for that one and the same for the other one. And then if I go to my section render base, so let me close everything up in WTZA. If I come into my section render base, it'll update, right? So this is what's on top of that. So if I go to my visibility graphics and I select all and I go to my cut patterns again, I could come in and change that solid fill color from white to like this blue. And then I could also change the line cut to the same blue, right? And then I don't really have to worry about joining things. But, right, so now you've got that. So that might be a good option too. I think it just reads cleaner. So that's that. And that's it. Otherwise, I'll send this link to this video to you along with the comments.